All right, we are recording. Let's do this. Do you want to say your name?
Sure. My name is Ashley D, aka DJ Ash Knuckles, or Xiaoxing, which is my Chinese name, which means morning star or little star.
Cool. All right, so do you kind of want to explain your, your DJ process, your set process, kind of like, when you go into whatever environment, pick out your sets and so forth.
Yeah, actually, I actually prefer to actually, I actually prefer to wing it because I like to kind of be in the moment and read the crowd and kind of go from there and just go off my instincts. But I read somewhere from like a certain DJ that I really respect, don't ever wing it. Real DJs never wing it. They always prepare. So I have something tomorrow which I've been preparing for and like putting together a set list and all that. But whenever I do that, I always mess up when the actual gig comes. Um, I don't know why. It's like if it's too planned, it's just I don't know. I just end up messing up, but I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try to just have like a more planned set list and arranged you uh format. But I actually really like kind of just like being able to wing it and not because I don't like to prepare or because I'm lazy, because I like to feel the vibe of that moment. I
Right,
like
right,
to feel that impulse. I like to feel the the I like to feel what's going on and
right, right.
and make a decision right there based off that. And you know, I I'm usually playing, I'm looking in the playlist and I'm deciding right there at that moment, okay, yes, no, I'm not going to play that. And I like to just do it that way and it's spontaneous and it's fresh and it's kind of moving, and but when I have a set, it's like if something starts if some let's say there's like a different crowd that doesn't like whatever planned for it, it's like then you're stuck with something that you've already planned and practiced, and then you can't really move out of that, and it's hard to because you've already set in your own mind mentally um what you want to do. So that's why I actually prefer to like kind of go with the flow. I like the vibe when it comes to DJing, but you know um certain events, I guess, you gotta prepare. So tomorrow I'm actually DJing like a boutique event. It's like a shopping event. It's very, it's more not high pressure to like make people dance or anything. But so I'm gonna just pick. I try to keep it real fly but sexy and still hip hop. I try to keep hip hop in mind at all times.
Is this event that is it private or is this a public event that you can
Oh no, it's a
let people
public
know?
event and
Okay.
it's for women. It's for whoever, and men too if they want to shop for their girlfriends. It's a holiday boutique party in Beverly Hills and it's called Isia Boutique. And so that's tomorrow from 3 to 8 and I go on at 4:30, and I plan to just do like a mix between eclectic, electronica with like hip hop and a little bit of mainstream. So I'm going to try to mix it up and still keep it fly and in good taste.
Is there a website or anything that people can go to check it out?
Sure, it's isiaboutique.com. It's ICIA boutique.com. And like I said, that's tomorrow. So I don't know if by the time you finish this, if it'll be already passed. But I'll definitely be there dropping a set from 4:30 to about 6. And I'm going to play just like, fly stuff.
All right, cool. What else outside of DJing? What else are you into?
I'm very well. I like to shoot photography, and I started off doing videography in the industry. That's how I actually met you. Is I was doing new media, writing for the artist websites, and for all the hip hop and R&B artist websites. So I'm a writer. I like to shoot and edit, and I'm trying to direct more and be more in an executive position, or just a person that I feel like I have enough experience and I've been around long enough to know like what's good and what people want. So I consider myself a contributor and a content creator, you could say.
All right, cool. Do you feel um, as being both a woman and Asian at the same time, being involved in media or entertainment in general? do you think it has its challenges, or would you just say that it is what it is, and there's really no so-called I don't know. Uh, I'm trying to be as PC as possible. Uh, uh, there's no discrimination involved in you trying to, get your gigs, or you trying to, do your thing within this entertainment and media industry.
Well, being a woman and being a woman of color or of ethnic diversity is always going to be a challenge. Um, that's number one. If anybody who wants to pretend or act like it's not like that, well, I don't know if that's the truth. My experience has been that yeah, it's definitely there's challenges. There's things you're gonna have to you're gonna have to experience. I've definitely received a lot of love and I get a lot of support and I definitely love my community. I've been present for my community and my community has been present for me. People are down for me. I've had a very I've had a great time. I mean, I've worked with great artists, A-list artists. I've worked with underground artists. I've done all kinds of interesting work, and I absolutely love my life. I absolutely love the people that I work with, that I know in my community. And but yeah, there's definitely been challenges. I've dealt with many things that people don't talk about. Obviously, the first thing being is everything is sexualized. If you're a woman, everything is about being a sexual object. And sometimes, it's not about being a sexual object. Sometimes I'm not thinking about that. Sometimes I'm thinking about gardening. Sometimes we're thinking about, books. I don't know. There's
Right.
other things besides that. And yes, that is an important part of life. And we all, especially me being a woman and yeah, whatever, as looking a certain way. Of course, I'm not going to say I'm a nun and I don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not sexual at all, but it is part of everyone, but that's not the only thing. Number two, I've dealt with being stigmatized. That's something that people do not talk about. Um, and, a stigma, if you don't know what it is, you need to look it up. So being stigmatized is just having some kind of label put on you that not isn't necessarily true. It's not necessarily true. And, and that has affected my social life and my professional life in many ways. Um, because but at the end of the day it's like people who are smart and people who take the time to know you and people who are intelligent, discerning, and people who are critical thinkers and on a higher vibration. I'm confident and I have faith that they will get to know me for who I am, that they will give me a chance to show what I can bring to the table. They will have faith in me as I have faith in them. So, that's the upside of it. The downside of it is that yes, there are lower level thinking people that have definitely placed a stigma on me because I'm a certain way, or I'm this person, or I'm outspoken, or I'm a female, or I'm Asian, and that definitely I've experienced that, and I'm not going to say I don't. So, sexualization, being stigmatized, and it's definitely racial. I grew up in the hip hop community. I grew up in the hip hop culture. This is what I know. This is who I am, and it has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with where you grow up, how you're raised, what experiences you had, how your family treated you. All these things has nothing to do with race. And real hip hop really has nothing to do with has nothing to do with race. I mean, hip hop obviously is a seed of African culture and from the diaspora of you know from African descent and jazz and reggae and all that. But in our current where we live in this moment in time in Los Angeles, there's Latino people doing hip hop, there's Asian people, there's white people, there's black people, there's all kinds of there's Indian people, there's purple people, there's brown people,
Purple
there's
people.
green people, there's hip hop is universal and it's multicultural and multidimensional and it's multi-layered and so yeah, I've definitely dealt with many of the challenges, but I've had many positive experiences, and I absolutely love myself and my community and what I do, and I'm very critical of my community and I'm very critical of myself and others, but at the same time I feel like I bring a lot to the table. So, to answer your question, yeah, there's definitely challenges, and I've definitely had to deal with them. But there's always an upside, and there's always any person that deals with anything negative. You got to always know that there's a positive in it. There's a lesson in it as well.
Cool. Well said.
Thank you.
Totally agree with you. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess on the next question is, and this is probably more so maybe my opinion, my opinionated question, if that's even something that's a phrase. Um, I just feel like there is, in terms of, I guess if you want to say hip hop in general or music in general, um, I don't know. I feel like there's definitely a difference, especially these days, between the mainstream and then I guess the underground or the conscious. Would you say the same, or would you say no, that hip hop is just hip hop, rap is rap, and then it just is what it is?
I'm sorry. You're saying that there's a difference between the conscious rap and the commercial stuff?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm talking about currently. Like, do you feel that there's a difference between more mainstream ish music?
Do you mean in
Um,
content or?
Yeah, more so probably in terms of content and what's being distributed to the masses. Like, do you feel
Absolutely.
like there's a difference?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a difference. I mean, at the end of the day, the um, well, first let me clarify. A lot of people, a lot of underground heads or a lot of hip hop heads, it's a real sin to support commercial hip hop and commercial radio, and I don't really agree with that. I like good music. I like whatever is good. It could be trap music. It might be trap music. It might be stripper pole music, or it might be underground music. It might be revolutionary and political. If it's good, I like it, and I try not to be too judgmental about art. As far as the business is concerned, of course, commercial and mainstream music, because it's a business, and it's well, I'm not going to say it's less about the art. There's definitely amazing artists that are in the commercial and mainstream world, but there's more compensation, and when you bring in money, of course, more money always equates to priorities shifting. Not in
Right.
every community, not in every society, but let's be general. Just on a commercial level with mainstream music, the priority is going to be to sell. And so there's definitely a difference in content. I don't necessarily not like it. I don't necessarily agree with some of the messages. I think there's a time and a place for everything, and I think it's really a parent's responsibility to be able to shield what kind of content their children are listening to. I believe that it is also a responsibility of each artist to be conscious of what message they're putting out there. But some people, don't agree with that. Some people don't feel that responsibility. And I think that it's important that people who have the opportunity or the ability to make decisions, and people in power, should be exercising discretion. Um, so it's many things, but there's definitely a difference in content for sure. Um, I wouldn't say it's positive or negative. And most of my peers, especially my peers from the underground, would definitely disagree with me. But I understand that it did. One time I went to, let me tell you a story. One time I went to a funeral, okay, and there was a certain DJ who is considered to be conscious, and and very pushes the soulful music and underground and all that. And he got up there and he was talking about thugs, and he was saying, oh, thugs are bad, thugs and this and that, and being very judgmental of other people's lifestyles. I felt that you don't know that person, you don't know what they come from, you don't know what they were born into, you don't know their family situation, you don't know if there's mental illness. There's so many things that go into so many people's lifestyles, and you really don't know what they're coming from. You don't know if they're just in survival mode. You really don't understand until you know their story, and that can go for any kind of artist, a mainstream artist too. Maybe there was a mainstream artist that came from a really hardcore, environment, and it just really needs to get ahead and is really only thinking about getting that paper, and that's their real priority, is getting that paper. And maybe for them to get that paper is to put forth certain messages, which you and I may not agree with, but I don't know, maybe that's what they felt that they needed to do. You just never know. And I feel like people's stories, whether they be mainstream or underground or commercial or conscious or political or pop, I feel like people's stories are complex. And I feel like you just never know the priority and what's really going on. You have to kind of find out. So it's hard to generalize, and it's hard to just make one clear statement like that, because you just don't know. That's how I feel about it. Like Missy Elliott. Missy Elliott's a mainstream artist. She's a commercial artist. I know she came from abuse. I know she had a lot of, struggle, and, everybody has struggle. So you just never know what people are coming from. Of course there's people, and then there's a couple exceptions of complete, there's always your complete nuance. But, like I said, I think, I have faith in the audience. I have faith in people, and I hope that they can make decisions on their own, and not take everything for face value, not take everything, you know what I mean? You got to be critical, and you got to make your own decisions, and you got to be able to filter what comes into your life. So that's I think people have the power to make their own decisions. So even though that person's making a certain type of music, you don't necessarily have to absorb it. You can, you have the opportunity and the power and the choices to make to take it in or not take it in. So that's another side of the coin. So there's, everything is complex to me.
Well, complexity is good. It's all good. It's part of life. So speaking about choices, what do you usually or typically play? I know you said you improvise every once in a while, or most of the time, but can you just kind of, from a genre perspective, kind of explain like what you sometimes play or spin?
I always try to keep hip hop in mind, and hip hop is my first true love. So I do have a lot of classic hip hop and all that. But there's so many DJs that are so good at being turntablists, and so good at bringing that boom bap and really staying true to the traditional hip hop culture, and I definitely have that in mind. But there's a lot of fresh new artists and fresh new music that isn't really heard. That's very current. That's very cutting edge and very fresh. So I'm really into a lot of electronic, down tempo and soul and fly remixes. I have a lot of remixes of hip hop versions, but it's like a maybe more sophisticated fly version, a more electronic version. But it's still it's still a hip hop song. And so I really like to, I like to do fly, cool, vibey music that's electronic, hip hop and down tempo and very soulful. I have a lot of Sade remixes. And, I do play other DJs remixes, but I'll definitely make sure it's cool. There's the Sade remixes I pull from Paul Nice. I really love his Sade blends. And some of them, I do play and they sound good in the club, but I definitely reached out to him and I asked him if it was acceptable, if it was cool, because certain DJ etiquette, sometimes it's not cool and sometimes it is cool to play remixes, and you just have to know DJ etiquette. So I will, always make sure it's okay with someone. And so I really like a lot of remixes. I'm not, sometimes mashups are okay, but I really, I do like remixes. And real fly. I just try to keep it real fly and sexy,
Okay.
But still always keeping hip hop in mind.
All right, cool. Well, are there any websites that you want to mention that people can come and check you out?
Sure. There's 2 free downloadable mix CDs on my website, which is ashknuckles.com, and it's ash-knuckles.com. And there you can see I'm more visible there as an artist. I have photos and I have music that you can download, and some of the companies I get DJ service from, like 1200, Cornerstone 1200 or Giant Step, and I'm part of the KPL's All Stars crew, so you can see that information there. And then I also do lifestyle photography, and where I create, and some of the content that I've created in the past, archived video and stuff like that. And some of the things I've done is on ShaoXingRedemption.com, and it's kind of like that movie Shawshank Redemption. That's where I got the name from, but it's Shaoxing, so it's spelled XIAOXING redemption.com. And so there you can find photos and events and blogs and stuff. And eventually I am probably gonna do away with the whole Ash Knuckles thing. I'm probably gonna just eventually move into the whole just move into one moniker, and I really should just have one for marketing purposes and business purposes. But I'm a multi-dimensional, multi-layered person, so there's always going to be a couple different things inside the story. But so I'm eventually going to be moving into one. But right now there's two, which is a little confusing for people. But it all goes to the same place. All the emails go to the same place. And, all the content, it's all the same person. But, just me being creative and branching out. And so, yep, ashknuckles.com, ashknuckles with a hyphen. It's actually not spelled with a hyphen, but that was the domain that was available, so I took that. And ShaoXingRedemption.com, which is, like I said, I have a lot of photography of, like, fly girls, and there's some, political kind of looking photography and art and stuff, so definitely check it out when you have a chance.
All right, cool. We'll also make sure that we post it up, so... All right, cool. Well, thanks for doing the interview, Ashley, and, just keep doing your thing.
Thank you, Imoy. I appreciate the love, and thank you for thinking of me.
Oh, it's all good. All right, I'll talk to you later. Peace.
All right, peace.